Welcome back to BluOcean Talks. My name is Ron Efron. Today with me in the studio is Alvin Chan, who is the founder and chief executive of Calsius Group. Welcome.
Thank you, Ron.
It's great to have you here. So why don't we, just to get things warmed up a little bit, tell us a little bit about Calsius Group and what you do, and then we can dive deep in there and say a few more things.
So perhaps I start off with why we actually set up Calsius Group. I spent 22 years in military service. And during that 22 years of military service, the first half of my career was spent on the ground in combat units. And the second half of the career was with the intelligence organization. With that, certain things actually change the landscape, the security landscape. Primarily, when I was a young company commander, we saw the impact of September 11th, and that actually changed the entire landscape. And as I move on and I progress in my career in the military, dealing with intelligence work, we can see that the world is pretty unsafe. So the culmination of my career was I led the largest deployment from the Singapore Armed Forces to Afghanistan, and that actually opened up my eyes.
Okay.
And I realized that after leaving service, I need to do something that can contribute to society, to the industry itself, pushing the envelope. So that's where we first started off with Calsius Solutions, and eventually we branched off to Risk Intelligence, and that's where we decided to consolidate it as a group. So in essence, Calsius Solutions focus on control centers technology, and with that, clients over time have also asked us to add on new capabilities, and we decided to leverage on our knowledge to build command and control systems. So that's what essentially Calsius Solutions does. For Calsius Risk Consultancy, which focuses a lot on risk intelligence work, and clients have also know about our background and asked us to build a capability for them. And with that, we focus on providing strategic insights and conducting due diligence on behalf of our clients. So that's in essence.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yes, how we started. It was progressive, and we just had to adapt to the client's demand.
All right. Well, I have 100 questions I want to ask you, and it's kind of fascinating. And you are truly a homegrown security company, right?
Yes.
Right? That's great, which is wonderful. I started my career in Beijing, although I'm not originally from China, and ended up building a regional security business, integration business. But I love that idea that an ex-military and starting your own business. But were you always an entrepreneur, or what made you become an entrepreneur after the military?
I wasn't. I think there's no right way to describe whether I'm entrepreneur. I guess since young, I've always enjoyed problem solving. I can recall from the time when I was a young boy, I was playing with Lego sets. Always, and I veer off course, and I don't follow the plans and start building my own stuff.
Your own creativity, yeah.
And I've been tinkling with contraptions since young. And when I joined the military, it was always about problem solving, regardless of whether it's with dealing with people, dealing with systems, dealing with warfighting concepts, or even workflow processes. And that seems to be a natural progression coming into the commercial world, the real jungle. We have clients always coming to us for advice to problem solve. And we problem solve either by doing business process re-engineering, helping them to solve their problems without incurring exorbitant costs. And with that, one way is to identifying gaps in their current business model, and how can we actually bridge those gaps by through business process re-engineering or by leveraging on technology. So those are things that we do. And we also provide insights to clients. And a specific vertical that we focus on is corporate security.
Right.
It is important to help our clients alleviate their role from that of transactional tasks, incident monitoring.
Sorry, what does it alleviate their role? What does that mean?
Because a typical corporate security role would entail...
You mean to take off some of their burden?
Yeah, take up some of their bandwidth.
Right.
From transactional stuff like incident management, incident events monitoring, provide strategic insights, provide do due diligence for them, so that they can become trusted advisors to their management. More often than not, we see that a lot of our clients are doing a lot of transactional stuff, very heavy. From the management perspective, they're seen as cost centers.
That's true.
And not creating sufficient value. So we come in to help.
Try to help with that.
Yeah.
What is your typical client today? I'm assuming there's also government.
Yes, 80% of our clients are government, 20% enterprise. Enterprise could be MNCs, also could be government link. For governments, it could be ministries, it could be statutory boards. And for enterprise, we have clients in the technology industry. We have clients with who are in FSIs, and we have clients who are also in manufacturing.
FSI meaning
financial services institutions.
Right. Yeah. Right. And mainly Singaporean government, or have you branched out of Singapore? At this point?
We have a mix. We have a mix of MNCs, regional, and we have presence over here, and we have a mix of local companies. But I think the trend is changing. With the geopolitical changes, the strategic rivalry between US and China has also impacted the supply chain. And with that, we see a lot more clients coming over to this part of the world, setting up shop or working with local partners, local manufacturers. And that also increases the demand for due diligence. So that's where we come in to value add to our clients.
Do you see yourself branching out to governments outside of Singapore, like in Southeast Asia, or?
We are open.
Okay.
We are open. And doing overseas business is always tough, right. I would say.
Different set of challenges.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all about risk mitigation. Singapore, we work very closely with the Singapore government, and by its extension, the statutory boards or even government-linked companies. Partly it's because we understand the procurement process very well. I mean, I've done capability development when I was in the military. We have a very robust process. We understand the process, and that is also, you also transcend the government sector industry. So that actually allow us to work with our clients a lot better because we understand their processes. Yeah.
That's great. We're kind of jumping around, but I wanted to get back to how you started your company. Did you get any assistance from the government? It was like, the reason why I'm asking that is because I started a company here as well in Singapore, and hats off to the way the government supports its industries here, especially during COVID. So did you get any special support from the government at the beginning?
No. So I started from scratch. I started as a one-man operation.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
And we scale up accordingly over time. We are 9-year old. Next year will be our 10th anniversary.
Nice.
We have grown exponentially. I think the credit goes to the team. They believe in the vision. I believe in selecting good people. They believe in the vision. They believe that then they're very customer-centric, customer-obsessed, helping clients, solving problems. I think that is, I think that's the advantage that we have in the industry.
Oh, I totally agree. Being in a security business, it's you're not selling a product necessarily, a box. You're selling a service, and it's the people. It's extremely important.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you find yourself in the military for such a long time? Is that something you planned when you were younger?
Sorry?
How did you find yourself in the military for the 20 years? Did you plan that? Or was that something you knew you wanted to do when you were younger?
Well, when I didn't plan. I mean, I did plan my exit. I did plan my exit. It's just that after my tour in Afghanistan, I realized that the world is a lot bigger than the exposure that I get in the organization. The organization has, by the extension, the military has provided me a very strong foundation and also built character. And I'm thankful for that experience. But I'm always going for challenges. And that was where I had I decided that after my tour in Afghanistan, I've decided to come out to give the commercial world a try. I could not picture myself retiring from the military and sitting in a desk job in a government linked company or in a statutory board. That would be very I would say restrictive.
It's not you.
Yeah.
I didn't know Singapore sent troops to Afghanistan. When was that?
That was in 2010, at the peak of the fighting.
Was that part of the USA, or was it? How was it structured? If you can say.
So Singapore and the United States have close relations. So we work very closely with the American military, and it was an international effort to contribute as part of the reconstruction effort in Afghanistan. And partly, if you read in the news, we have extremist threats in the region, and we can't do it in a big way. So we contribute by providing forces that can create value for our partners. So what I did, when I led the UAV task group, was basically a command and control task group. We provide intelligence support through imagery analysis from UAV feeds to ground forces that require.
So just for the audience, a UAV, what is UAV again? Just use it?
No, I had no experience of UAV operations.
But sorry, what is UAV? Just so everybody's clear.
Oh, we saw a need. We saw a gap in the requirements because most of the unmanned aerial vehicles were at the divisional and above level. We were supporting the brigade level, and there is always it's a real thing. Resources are always finite, and we thought that we could actually value it.
Well, I'm sure it's also good experience for the Singaporean military because you don't have a lot of active.
Yes, I mean we've actually sent besides operations, we also send our our boys out to other countries for exercises, to conduct joint exercises, bilateral or multilateral. I don't speak for them, but Singapore has a very limited lens size, and in order to sharpen the tip of the spear, we have to continue to benchmark and also exercise our processes.
Well, I was in the Israeli military for 3 years, and I know some similarities there, although we have a bit more conflict going on in that part of the world. But so I'm familiar with that. That's great. So just back to the Calsius Group. You say your main clients are government, corporate. That's great. And so now it's managed like two groups. You have like an intelligence arm and the solutions arm. And so can you tell me more about the intelligence arm? And because that's a big word. Are you competing with the likes of like the Dragonfly and
I don't think we compete, because it's very difficult, because they are international companies, very established,
right?
Corporations. They have offices all over the world. They have a different sort of reach that we do not have. We do very bespoke services for our clients. So like I mentioned earlier, when a client has a specific problem, we help to resolve those problems by leveraging on our past experiences, past methodology. We provide quality assurance in terms of training, getting the right people, getting the right mindset. That is the kind of value add that we have. And we focus on the customers rather than focus on the competition.
Right,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
No, I'm just curious. Some words like that are used in a broad sense, like intelligence, and they can mean different things sometimes. And I was curious about that. And so doing sales and business development must be a bit challenging. I guess it's better when a client comes to you and says, "Hey, we have this problem. Can you help us?" If you're out there trying to knock on doors, it's more challenging.
So it's about socialization, not about pitching or selling. It's about socializing clients, educating clients that there are we can do a spectrum of
your capabilities, for example.
Yeah, we have a capability to do to meet a spectrum of their needs, and we usually start off with advisory work first, and when the client is comfortable and their management is comfortable, and that's where we start to build the relationship with them. It's all about relationship. It's about trust,
of course,
and whether can we solve their problems and deliver the solutions to meet their demands and their needs. That's our approach.
I'm sure there's a lot of word of mouth as well. Yeah. So you just mentioned like the geopolitical kind of environment going on and a lot of interesting stuff. What's your take on what's going on? What do you think, or how do you feel about what's going on with the geopolitical environment currently in the region of the world?
How do I feel about
the geopolitical environment? You mentioned that you mentioned that, and then I just want to dig there a little bit deeper.
I think this is my personal take on the geopolitical environment. After the midst of the Cold War, we have a period where there was where we live in a unipolar world. So there's globalization, and with globalization comes wealth, comes development, which is good. But we know that you there will never be a period where one dominant power will stay throughout, because they also have their own internal issues. And with China rising, and you have worked in China before, you can see that they're very advanced. They are moving from an industrial base to a service-based economy. And it will be inevitable that there'll be rivalry. There'll be rivalry between. And And with that, there will be people will institute policies, and by the extension, processes that will bifurcate because of this perceived rivalry. And with that, then you will see that you start to split off. You have the Chinese internet, for example, and the Western internet that we are. I can't use WhatsApp. I can use Google Workspace in China.
Right.
Yeah. So these are some examples of how the world have actually split. And then the question is, what is the impact on us? How does it change the economy in Singapore, or by extension, Southeast Asia? I will see that there will be more commercial interest coming back to Southeast Asia, building manufacturing base here, because we will see that the supply chain has actually bifurcated. China by itself is moving away from to a service-centric economy. Cost of operations is also going to be a lot higher in China. It will be very natural that both sides will be looking at alternatives. Where else in this part of the world where you will find more cost-effective labor, cost-effective production? I think Southeast Asia in itself would provide a good base.
In India and Vietnam, yeah.
Yes, and with that, then there will be a lot more demands for due diligence work, because in Southeast Asia, or for example in ASEAN, you have 10 countries with 10 different political systems, 10 different languages, 10 different state of economic development. So there'll be a lot of due diligence work on regulation. There'll be a lot of due diligence work on legal and even specific organizations. So that's where I see the opportunity.
So it sounds like you're not necessarily too worried. You're just like, okay, this is a situation. We just simply have to accept it. And you're also seeing some silver lining where there also might be some business opportunities if you're doing work in Southeast Asia or India or other places.
Yes, India is a different cup of tea. To look at India, we have to look back into history. India has a lot of princely state before the British came in. The British Empire set in. And there are a lot of bureaucracy. So doing business over there would be, especially at the national level, would be tough. For SMBs to go in, it will be probably very tactical type of businesses. At the enterprise level, at the MNC level, they would, but it's a difficult market. It's a difficult market, and there are very strict labor laws, very restrictive. So the cost of operations may be higher. But I'm not saying that India has a large population. There is scale, and the economy has lots of potential, because the mid-income earners, there's still a lot of potential for growth. And with that growing, you have a lot more consumption, and that will actually push the economy further in terms of growth. So we see a lot of potential in India. But it has, of course, every system has its own limitations, has its own constraints. We do not see ourselves going into India at this stage. We would like to just focus on the Asia Pac, which is something that is close to heart in us. I mean, I myself, I speak English, Mandarin, I speak Bahasa Indonesia, I speak Bahasa Melayu. So that actually helps, because it helps to understand not just our potential business partners, but also we understand the cultural nuances.
Have you set up any offices or subsidiaries in other countries yet?
Not at the moment. We have to assess. We're still growing rapidly in Singapore. We have to assess the risk and the potential. So if you look at Southeast Asia, if you extrapolate, a lot of the FDIs in Southeast Asian countries are by Singapore companies. And most of them started off with services. So that could be a right approach to start sales office and providing services to potential clients. But we still think that for the local enterprises in all these specific countries, they may not necessarily be ready for our type of services.
Interesting. So just to switch gear here a little bit, I heard you speak at the ASIS conference a couple of weeks ago, and you were focusing on AI.
Yes.
And so just, I want to ask a few questions about that. And I also think it's interesting for the audience to hear, because AI is such a big buzzword today and it's used in different contexts. But in terms of your business and the intelligence and the solutions and security more broadly, how do you think AI, like what's your view on that? What's your take on that? How do you think it's going to change things? And are you and your company using it in any fashion?
So what is important is to set a culture within the company. A lot of my teammates uses generative AI to help them with the daily work. It is efficient. It also allows us to frame our thoughts easily. Now, when it comes to the area of generative AI, that we'll ask ourselves how. First, there is a red side of house. What kind of threats that could potentially affect our clients? And at the same time, from the blue side of the house, is how can we leverage on AI to help reinforce, say, for example, corporate security processes. At the red side of the house, you talk about cyber-enabled influence operations. These are things that could affect branding, affect reputation. How do we do diligence work on people behind with nefarious intentions from such organizations? We do that part of our house to protect our clients' interests. But we also look at it from the client side of the house, the blue side of the house. So how could we actually make the workflow a lot more efficient? For example, daily reporting of incidents in some of our clients' organization. You have security. You have hundreds of assets all over Southeast Asia. You may face with reporting with regard to geopolitical situation. It could be events related to the environment, earthquakes, landslides. It could be social, economic unrest. People are unhappy generally with certain issues and they protest, and that actually affect our customers. So all these reports do come in. But one of the big challenges is how do we manage information? How do we make use of all this? Can we first structure the data? Once we structure the data, it'll be a lot more efficient for us to throw information and to get insights. For example, if there is a lot of geo-economic unrest or protests in a certain part of a country that my clients has presence, I can leverage on generative AI to be able to throw information and say, hey, can you tell me in the last 6 months where are the hotspots for the unrest. It will be able to generate such information for you. And
sorry, just to interrupt for a second. Is this a product that you developed? Is this a module you developed in-house, or are you using sort of off-the-shelf modules for this?
Yes. So we do develop such tools for our clients, and with that, the so what would be, I'm able to tell you the past history, who are these organizations, and potentially who are the personalities of or people of interest that are involved in such contexts.
And is that being effective? Do you see better results?
I would think it will help us organize our information a lot easier. It is a lot more efficient. The organization will become more nimble in terms of responding, rather than going through a manual process of doing investigation. We are trying to standardize first the processes, then automate it. And this is just part of automation. And it is just a different approach to solving ground issues. So the model would allow you to throw information and help you organize the information in a much more efficient way.
How do you think this will develop in the future?
Yes, we see a lot of potential. And I guess across all industry, we see generative AI going to the mainstream. The government is adopting it for normal work, routine work. Commercial entities are doing that. Then, of course, with that, there'll be concerns about security breaches, and of course, there's a common concern with hallucination. So it is important to ensure that the data set is structured so that you feed a model with rubbish. Generally, you will come out with products that is not optimized. Right. Yeah, so it's important to structure the data. So this is where we think that we could leverage on that to help make processes a lot more efficient.
What do you think it's going to look like in like 5 years from now? Any vision?
I would say in 5 years from now, you would be able to obtain insights, the model will be able to provide you with different scenarios, give you an assessment of what is the base scenario and what are the probable scenarios or possible scenarios. What's the probability of this happening? What are the playbooks to address specific scenarios? If you were to leave it to a manual task, you need to have a team of people coming in. Now, if I have a situation of a crisis, I can potentially map out different scenarios. This is the base case. These are all the possible scenarios. These are all the specific playbooks. How does it impact different domain? So I've also been playing with generative AI on my own, and I've always been interested in investment. So with treasury yield going high, I've also thrown in some of this information into ChatGPT and get it to generate very simple scenario-based scenario, and it can actually do that. So the tool itself is very powerful. It's what you want to do with the information.
I found it interesting sometimes to challenge it, like with ChatGPT or even Gemini or other modules, and like it comes out with some sort of response, and I'll say something like, "Look at your data again," or try that again, and it'll come back with a slightly different response, and it's interesting to see how it's I want to say thinking, but it's not thinking, but how it's, how it's tweaking sometimes, or
I guess one of the skill set is getting the prompts correct.
correct. Yeah.
So far, we have been getting the prompts correct, and it has been pretty useful for us in getting the information that we require. It's like machine learning. You have to train the model.
Right.
You have to refine the model. It will not be perfect, but it has to. Ultimately, when you make an investment in this particular model or project, it has to minimally meet your needs, be able to address your needs.
Right.
And you must be able to find some measurement of success.
So other than AI, are you seeing any other interesting trends, technical trends in the market?
I think perhaps beyond 5 years, you see quantum computing coming on board.
Right.
And with quantum computing and AI converge, it's going to be a lot more powerful. The possibilities is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And with that, track actors would also be leveraging on the same technology. And it's going to be challenged. So I guess what is important for organizations, specifically for corporate security, and even the cyber side of the house, is to be adaptive and be open to such technology. Because we, at this stage, we do not know what the possibilities are. We just know that AI is about modeling. Quantum computing is about computing power and speed. And when you combine both of them, it's going to be scary.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. And you're already seeing some very convincing deep fake videos out there. And you can imagine just how that can confuse people or wreak havoc in different parts of the world. And yes, it is quite scary.
It's quite scary. And I mean, I shared during the conference that we already have organizations that have been
targeted.
They lost $25 million just to scams. And it's also affecting the masses. They're targeting old people through scams. So such technology, if it falls into the hands of nefarious organization, it's not going to do good to society. So that also helps, reinforces our mandate to contribute to society.
How do you battle that though? I mean, it seems like it's like almost like a lost. Like, how do you fight that? The only thing that comes to my mind is education. It's like you educating people on how to be more critical of their data and data source and everything.
I think creating awareness is important. Whether it is at formal conferences like AC's APAC, or having your own closed sessions with clients, or even within the larger extension community of practice or with fellow practitioners. I think sharing information is important. We have a lot of collaborations with people in the industry, sharing use cases, they sharing their problems would actually help to provide more robust response to such threats. So that's where how we organize risk intelligence. There are assets, there are vulnerabilities, and there are threat actors. And the important thing is to stitch the entire picture out. And how can we mitigate these risks? By telling these organizations the so what and the what if, which is all the different scenarios, and what are the recommendations to help address all these problems.
So would you recommend, I know, a young person coming out of the school today, would you recommend them getting into the security industry?
I would. I think the security, like I mentioned, since when I was a young company commander at officer mess, watching 2 aircraft crashing into the Twin Towers, the world has changed.
For sure. I remember that too, of course. Yeah.
I mean, before September 11, I've been to Israel. The checks at the airport were extremely stringent. But after September 11, you see that the whole world is practicing the same.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk a lot more about that. It's there is a question about effectiveness. But yes, that changed the world forever. Yeah,
It's changed the world, and I think that the security industry is a need, not a want. But our role is to help our clients provide insights to their management. I think that the key thing is to move them away from the transactional stuff. You can leave the transactional stuff to the professionals, but and most organizations are getting a lot more leaner. That's where the value proposition is.
So would you agree that it's good to get into the industry because there are opportunities, there's growth opportunities, there's interesting opportunities, and it's a needed profession. It's you can have satisfaction from that in different parts of security. You're helping safeguard the world, our assets, our different aspects.
Definitely, there are a lot more opportunities, especially now with so 15 years ago you have IT converge. So you have moved from analog systems to IP-based systems.
Right.
And now systems are getting a lot more capable. You have computer vision. And in the near future, you'll be infusing a lot more new technologies, be it artificial intelligence, generative AI, large language models, quantum computing. The capabilities will only increase and the sophistication of such systems will only increase. So for someone who wants to go into security tech, there is a lot of opportunities. And I would also see that both cyber and physical would eventually converge, because when you're talking about threat actors, they will be multimodal form of attacks. And they become increasingly a lot more sophisticated. So there are a lot of opportunities, whether in the cyberspace or whether in the physical or protective security space. So this is where I think for young people to join this industry, there's a lot of potential. But it is also important to be in tune with what is happening in the larger landscape, be it geopolitical events, be it technology advancements.
For sure. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? LinkedIn. Okay, well, that's great. I will be putting some your LinkedIn profile and your company website in the show notes. Also your email if you want to later. You can let me know. So we'll add those to the show notes. So if you are here in Singapore or in the region and you want to reach out to Alvin and his team and ask some questions, see how they can help you with your solutions, please do. It was great talking to you here today, and maybe we can catch up again, maybe like 6 months or a year later, and see and talk about what happened in the meantime and
Sure.
how things have developed.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.